Hi everybody, this is Dr. David White, and I'm a pediatrician with Billings Clinic Pediatrics here in beautiful Bozeman, Montana. You know, one of the great joys I have as a father is teaching my kids about the incredible variety of wildlife we have here right outside our door. I mean, where else in the country, or really even the world, can you see huge herds of elk, and pronghorn, and bald eagles, and even grizzly bear just a few minutes outside of town? We are so lucky to live here. But today I want to talk to you about one of the less popular animals in Montana, the western rattlesnake, also known as the prairie rattler. Now, I want to give you some tips today to help you and your children avoid encounters with this snake, which, by the way, is the only venomous snake in Montana. Now, it is possible that you may encounter a prairie rattler during one of your outdoor adventures, and yes, a bite from one of these creatures can be extremely dangerous, even life-threatening. But here's some good news. Rattlesnake bites are extremely rare, and the prairie rattler is actually very, very shy, and it tends to attack only when it feels threatened. And it has a rattle. Yes, that's obvious, but if you really think about it, how lucky is it that the one venomous snake in the state has a rattle and isn't silent? Now, most encounters with the prairie rattler can be avoided. How? By understanding where they like to hang out. And the more you educate yourself on the predictable habits of this creature, the less likely you are to encounter one. Now, one thing I'd like you to remember is that prairie rattlers like rocks. Rocks provide a means to help with temperature regulation, and it gives them a place to hide from their own predators, like eagles. Their prey, small rodents, often use the same rocks for cover, which is, of course, bad news for them. Now, prairie rattlers often live in places that are rocky and rugged, but also in arid grasslands, like what you see behind me, and pine forests. Their dens, which may contain hundreds and hundreds of snakes, tend to be on south-facing rock outcroppings. The lesson here is that you should try to avoid camping near rugged, rocky areas where they might be hiding. Also, don't ever reach into a rocky crevice, and avoid the temptation to explore caves, especially in the summer. Now, if you are on a hike that is passing through a rocky area, you should really be on high alert. Stay on the trail, and use some common sense when selecting your footwear. Hiking boots provide much better protection than sandals. And when you are camping, be very careful collecting firewood. Often when you're collecting firewood, you're off the trail, picking up things off the forest floor, often under poor lighting conditions such as dusk. So be very careful. Now, prairie rattlers, like all snakes, tend to hang out where their prey likes to hang out. I mean, why work so hard to hunt if you don't have to? So remember, at home, if you have a bird feeder and that bird feeder is attracting rodents like field mice to your house, be aware that the rodents may attract the prairie rattler. And the same goes for your dog. If you feed your dog on the back porch and leave his food there all day, be aware that that might attract rodents, which then in turn could attract a prairie rattler. Also remember that if you are swimming or getting out of a drift boat, be aware that prairie rattlers also like to hang out near water, usually at the water's edge. So really scan the shoreline well before you get out of the river. Now, prairie rattlers will typically choose long, tall grass when they venture out to hunt prairie dogs, rabbits, and mice. So if you have children and you live in an area with tall prairie grass, keep a good section of it mowed, very short. That will give your kids a safer place to play. And if you do see a prairie rattler, one of the most dangerous things you can try to do is kill it. Many people have been bitten trying to kill a rattlesnake when they could have just walked away. Don't be that guy. And that brings me to an important point. Your children need to be taught all of these things. This may seem like common sense to you, but kids try to catch and kill and even play with snakes, and you've got to teach them otherwise. They also need to be taught that you should never touch a dead snake. If it's a rattler, it could still be venomous. If you don't teach them, they won't know. They're just kids. And stuff that seems like common sense to us is not necessarily common sense to a child. In the end, you want to instill in them a vigilance and a respect for rattlers while not going overboard and making them irrationally fearful of the outdoors. Remember, rattlesnake bites are very, very rare. And like I said earlier, the more you understand about where they like to hang out, the less likely you are to ever encounter one. Lastly, if you or your child are ever bitten by a rattlesnake, obviously seek medical attention immediately. Like most of the wildlife here in Montana, rattlesnakes are fascinating creatures. And like it or not, we must coexist with them. My hope is that some of these tips will help keep you and your kids a bit safer as you explore the great Montana outdoors. This is Dr. David White, Billings Clinic Pediatrics, Bozeman, Montana.